Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the eSports Report. And it's going to be a great show today. I'm excited. We're joined by all the wonderful people that you don't normally get to see.
Nope.
But behind the screens, we've got JP, who's our stat guy. He knows all the stats about every player ever.
Hell yeah.
Give me a stat. You're the stat guy. You gotta give me a stat.
I don't know.
Give me a stat.
Any stat.
Any stat you want.
Outslaying percentage.
Here you go. You ready for this?
The best in the world. Scumpy. Scumpy's the #1 slayer ever.
Really?
Any game.
Ever. Any game.
Any
ever?
game. Any game.
There you go. That's a stat. And then, of course, Max joining us. He's normally the writer.
Yep.
Write me like a poem or something.
Oh, I was going to give you a stat. A poem?
I don't want to stat. You're not the stat guy.
You're not the stat guy. I'm
he's
the
my
stat
go-to
guy.
stat guy. Your stats are normally.
Do you remember his stat from, was it Season 1 playoffs? Where it was like, teams who win Game 5 win the series 100% of the time?
That is true.
That was a really good stat.
That
was a good. It's true though.
That's a great stat.
It is a very good stat.
Actually, best of 7.
I don't know. Anyway, today's going to be a great show. I'm excited for today. A lot of Call of Duty action happening at the weekend, both in North America and, of course, Europe. Season 3 relegation tournament, some roster mania talk as well. I'm excited for the roster mania segment. It's going to be great because we're going to kind of change the way we normally do our roster mania.
Yep.
And it should be a fun time. A little bit of a teaser or a hint. We will be using the green screen.
Oh,
so
it's going to be good.
Expect some fun time. Why are you not wearing glasses today, by the way?
I mean, it's just like I sometimes wear them,
I
sometimes
just
I don't wear
realized,
them.
you're creating like viewer confusion because they see you with the glasses and they see you without, and then they.
I have to switch it up.
Okay.
I'm a wild card.
Have fun with that. And of course, there was a 2K and a 5K this weekend. There was actually a lot of Call of Duty action.
There was a lot of Call of Duty action.
Surprised. But it all really kicked off with Season 3 relegation tournament. So many teams trying to compete, get themselves into Season 3. And we're going to recap it kind of how we recap the X Games. We're only going to take a look at the top 8 and kind of break down what went wrong for certain teams. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. If a player played bad, we're going to call them out. And of course, we'll take a look at who actually qualified for Season 3 as well. But we're going to start things off with VVV. They finished 7th through 8th at the Season 3 relegation tournament. Record 2-2, map count 6 and 7. Of course, Killer, John, Fizzup, and Twiz. I feel like when VVV kind of made that team change to bring in Killer, I feel they expected that to give them a big boost. But you kind of look at the map count and the record, JP, it didn't really do that.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good performance out of VVV at all. There was only, I believe, one stream match in which they got a 3-0, I believe. Ironically, yeah. But every off-stream match was just not up to par. I mean, hardpoint record 3-2, which is alright, but they only had +7 points on a score differential.
Yeah.
Team KD 0.96. The uplink record is atrocious at 1-3. The only one they got, the only win they got was on stream, and it was like 16-2.
It was a good win.
Yeah, it was a good win. And then an S&D powerhouse like Killa and Fizzler on the same team, only getting a 2-2 S&D record. You need those players to step up, and we'll take a look at how each player did specifically. Let's go on to the weaker player. Who do we have as a weaker player, Max?
So that's going to be John. Now, this is kind of surprising because, you know, coming into the season relegation tournament, people like Puckett and Matt were hyping John up because he did so well in the Black Ops 2 throwback tournament.
He did really
filling in for Crimson for Complexity there, the champions of that tournament. But he had a 0.89 overall KD for the tournament. Very surprising.
Not the best. From someone that you expect to be picking up a lot of kills and being
as a main slayer, yeah.
Yeah, he needs to be performing a little bit better than that. When they played Vex in that opening matchup, though, this was the crazy thing for me, Max. 0.77 KD. I mean, if there's ever been a slow start for one of your main slayers, I think that really kind of sums it up.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think everyone on the bracket show really had VVV just advancing over Vex easily. So this upset was a pretty big shocker in the first round.
It was.
And really for John, you know, an aggressive SMG player like himself, get into a lot of gun interactions, to have a 0.77 KD burst that team, you know, kind of shows why.
Yeah, but it didn't stop there. He had a negative KD in every matchup that he played that weekend. All four.
Wow.
Enigma, Prophecy, DT Purple, and Vex. All negative. You can't do that as a main slayer.
The fact they won 2 matches is kind of impressive.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I mean, yeah, again, it really is the struggle. And considering how weak John was playing at this event, you still look at the hardpoint record at 3-2. So you're still somehow scraping through respawns, which, especially when you look at that VVV squad as a whole, I think is kind of more surprising. The fact that they're going even in Search and Destroy, to me, was the big shock. 2-2.
Yeah.
And I guess really the big question when everyone saw that Killer and Fizzit were teaming together, and something that we've asked a lot of pros that have come on ESR, is who's in charge in Search and Destroy? Is it Killer? Is it Fizzit? We kind of know they, love their smoke grenades. Is kind of how everyone kind of knows them as players, but I feel like they were just playing as individuals as opposed to as a team. Whether that's team chemistry is an issue, could have been. But Max, one of the big questions really on a lot of people's minds is, if VVV don't make that team change for Killer, do they play better this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, the surprise really came in after ON dropped Killer from Och, which people were like, oh, everyone knew an Optic Nation roster change was coming.
Right.
Whether it was going to be Miracles or Killer, it ended up being Killer. And then they were kind of like, well, Killer's a world champion. We're really going to play with Sin instead of Killer? Let's just pick up Killer.
But he's a world champion on
two
games ago.
Yeah.
Like, is that still relevant right now? I feel like that's the lesson from AW,
I feel like it was kind of just like friendships and just the fact that, like, Killer's, a more respected, well-known player in AW, I guess.
After the past couple of events, we've seen him calling his teammates burgers on Twitter, which is a very interesting adjective to use to describe your teammates, I guess.
I don't know.
But hey, whatever tickles your pickle. On to standout player. And this one goes to Twiz from VVV. It's nothing too impressive. Overall, KD coming in at a 1.07, but he was positive in both respawn game modes, a 1.1 in hardpoint and a 1.04 in uplink. So kind of picked up the slack, I guess, from what John was leaving behind, negative in every single matchup. So
yeah.
Twiz had a pretty good time.
Yeah, I mean, this standout players was kind of a toss-up. Me and Max were talking about it. Twiz was doing really well in the respawns, but Fizzerb absolutely dominated S&D at a 1.54 KD in S&D. I think it was top 3 in the tournament. However, there's 3 respawns in a match.
Right.
So you need to be going off on all these respawns. 2 S&Ds is not enough. As you can see, they get out 6-7 map counts.
Right.
So
it's shocking. I mean, so he went 1.38 KD versus E6, and then a 1.25 versus DT Purple.
1.38 versus E6. That's.
But it could be like a misleading statistic, because do you think this team is like a top 32 team that they're going to go out in the first round of losers bracket? So you expect them to dominate in those first rounds of losers bracket.
You do.
So I guess all these like hardpoint 3-2 record, like, it could be misleading, obviously.
Yeah. So I mean, on your screen right now, you're seeing a losers round 2 matchup against DT Purple. And like we said, their only match that was streamed, they won 3-0.
This was DT Blue, isn't it?
No,
it's DT Purple.
Yeah.
DT Purple. Yeah, you're right.
So, like you said, only match streamed from the weekend for VVV, so it was kind of hard to pick in. They lost because the only series that was on stream, they 3-0'd.
Because that's normally what we did, or at least what we did last time with the X Games, is we kind of looked at what went wrong for the teams, especially, I mean, for this, it had to be uplink, right? You're going 1-3 in uplink, and it was ironic. The one they won, as you said earlier on, JP, was in this series.
Yeah,
and it was demolition. It wasn't even close. So some big inconsistencies really kind of coming in there in their game modes and whatnot. But Team KD, negative in hardpoint, negative in uplink, but again, still managing to go positive in hardpoint at 3-2. But that score difference of 7.4 was just. It's just not high.
Yeah, so you're basically having close games with teams in the losers bracket.
Right.
Which is exactly, like, some people
scary,
were having these people go into Season 3. So, I mean, you should be dominating those first games in the losers bracket.
Especially a squad like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is a talented team. I mean, obviously, talented in retrospect to who was at the event is the key thing here. Obviously, there's no up to gamings, there's no phases. So, a team like VVV going up against them, you would give it to OG or FaZe every single time.
Right.
But, going up against, DT Purple, you would sit back and say, yeah, VVV should dominate. And even some of the teams they played in the losers bracket, obviously they do ultimately end up winning this. But for me, I have to look at that Search and Destroy. That to me is the biggest surprise. I know Uplink was statistically their worst at 1-3, but going even in Search and Destroy, I just didn't think that was going to be the case, Max, when they announced that Killer was going to be playing as well.
Yeah, I mean, Fizzerb and Killer throughout all of Call of Duty have, been prominent Search and Destroy players, and I guess really when you saw this team come together, you assumed, okay, they're going to win every S&D, it'll be a wash. They'll take, if they go to Game 5, it's VVV series no matter what. But like you said before, they were talking about who's going to be the leader for this team, who's going to do what, and you know, as you see right now, just Fizz are dominating 5-1 so far in 2 rounds. And he, like we said, he really stepped it up at S&D this weekend, though.
Yeah, 1.54 KD in S&D. That is a really good stat to have. I believe Killa ended up posting 13 in an S&D as well. So I don't know if it was just John and Twiz not stepping up in the S&D department, but Fizz was definitely leading this team in like every statistical category in this game mode.
I mean, is that expected, I guess?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, you kind of look at that.
Oh, we're bringing out the smokes.
Smoke strats. One of the key things which we really should touch about for the teams that didn't qualify is kind of what happens. What happens to the players, you know? Killer immediately starts roasting his teammates as soon as he loses, which, I mean, he seemed pretty upset. I'm pretty sure he had some tweets basically saying he's fed up of MLG Variant. He wanted to put his Xbox One and AW in a pit of fire or something similar. He was very creative. I love Killer's rage tweets.
Oh, yeah.
He does think outside the box a little bit. But, you know, for players like FizzUp, I mean, like Twiz, like John normally, you would expect these caliber of players to be in the league, but a lot of people were kind of talking about it as the tournament was going on. Oh, you know, the league should expand, the league should expand. But I feel the league kind of validates its prestige by players not getting it, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, like, let's think about it. Like, Fizz and Twiz and John, right? Let's exclude Killa for right now because he's been in, you know, Season 1 and 2 with ON.
Right.
But, so, Fizz, Twiz, and John, they've all pretty much, they've teamed together for a chunk of AW in the beginning, and now they're kind of all relegated to, you know, stay with those same types of players. We saw Fizz and John team with Neslo and John.
Right.
Neslo and Dito, excuse me, at Champs, which was like, okay, Neslo, you know, good pickup. You really wouldn't see Neslo playing on a team with like FizzUp and Dito, I'd say, because you know, of the success he's had on teams like, you know, Team Caliber and stuff. So
same silver medalist.
Right, exactly. So I feel like those three players are kind of relegated to team with each other for.
I kind of see what you're saying.
For pretty much like a good time now, because until they have like some sort of success and maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, but
an event which is extremely tough.
Do you think they ever break out of that cycle?
No, exactly. Like they have to win an event, and who's gonna win? Like no one's winning an event.
I mean, it's not even about winning an event. It's about just trying to qualify for the league, right? That's basically what it came down to, and I think there comes a point where those players have to sit down and be like, well, this isn't working. It hasn't worked. At no point really this year has it been too successful.
Right.
Yeah.
When you think of it that way, and I think that's going to be a big spark going into roster mania over the next couple of days, potentially the next couple of weeks until rosters lock. I think that's something those players are going to be thinking about because, you know, after Season 3 finals, you have Worlds pretty much at the end of the year. That's the big one, right? That's what a lot of players now are sat down saying, all right, well, or at least a lot of players that haven't qualified, they're sat down saying, all right, well, we didn't qualify. Option 1, can I find a way into the league? If you can't, how do I get a decent enough team ready for Worlds?
Yeah.
And there's some players who just haven't really proven themselves all year, kind of being replaced by some of these new up-and-coming players.
Right.
You know, we look at some of the youth and some of the talent who just, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but, you know, big question, are some of the veterans now, is this the time in their competitive cycle where we're seeing some of the younger players replace some of the old guys? I mean, Max, what do you think?
I mean, in some situations, yes. Like, we see, you know, Hook and Temp now on denial.
Octane as well.
Right, Octane. But, you know, some of these players, like, I don't want to give them a grade or anything, but, you know, like, you know, Fizz, you know, John, Twiz, they're all...
You gonna throw some punches?
No, I'm not throwing punches. I'm saying...
You gonna throw some punches?
I'm not throwing punches, but...
Yeah, we aren't chugging.
We're
not chugging. I mean, this was a relegation tournament.
They're all stuck really teaming together for, like, for the foreseeable future.
Right, but does that mean that they're going to essentially be replaced? Or have they been replaced on AW by some younger talent? Because you think back really to... Let's go back to, let's say, Black Ops 2. Right? Kind of breakout players. In Black Ops 2, you had Neslo. I guess he's
Theory.
one which always comes to mind. Theory as well. He was really a breakout player.
All of TK except for Sharp.
Basically, yeah. But they weren't really kind of like this underage talent.
Right. Yeah, I think AW brought this new era where you're just seeing 15, 16-year-old kids that are just amazing at the game. Like you see Hook, Temp, TJ.
All those guys.
Octane. All these people you never even heard of before AW.
That's the crazy thing to me.
Yeah.
It is. These people that you...
Like maybe one Ghost tournament for Hook.
Who is this guy? Like what?
Anything else, you're just like...
Where has he come from?
Yeah.
And if you kind of look at Ghosts, breakout plays from Ghosts, I mean, Study had a great
Study
Ghost.
had a great
he was definitely a breakout player. Zuma. But again, these are kind of older players. I feel like we haven't really seen a game where all these young players have just come out and said, hey, can dominate this.
I mean, but that's great to see because for the next few years, we're going to see those players. I don't think they'll ever drop down that much, but we're going to keep seeing these new young players just get into these games and just dominate.
But then what happens to players like Killer, who isn't in the league now, who, you know, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 world champion, can't qualify for Season 3 AW. Like, what happens? Like, if you're Killer, what do you do?
I mean, you try to find your way onto a league team. I mean, I'm not really
Is Killer, right now, with the way he played this weekend, if you're in the league, are you trying to pick him up?
No. But I'm not sold on Owen really sticking with Moch.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there's no way Killer goes back on Top League Nation. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I think Moch had a pretty nice event.
He did, but I mean, like, again, like, Moch is kind of in the same category, I guess a little higher than, like, Fizz Killer or Fizz John and Twiz. I keep doing that because I'm looking at their names on the screen. But, like, again, like, you know, Moch, Classic, I'd say, has really stepped up his echelon in terms of players, like playing on Elevate.
This year, he definitely has.
He's definitely improved, but you know, I'd say Moch is probably in the next category above Twiz, John, and Fizz, and like he found his way onto ON. Good for him. Like now he's on an Optic team, which is big for him as far as building himself up as a player. But I mean, really, the story has been like after Season 3 relegation, like everyone's playing really for second place still because they still got to play OG.
Right.
Yeah.
Or try to beat OG, which is
now
extremely hard.
You look at that FaZe squad as well.
Right.
Pretty dominant team. Just to kind of update people on the roster situation, Killer, as of 32 minutes ago, tweeted, "If you got a good battle, hit me up, or got a squad that has potential, hit me up. But I'm not playing or rushing into anything with no garbage-ass team." So that really sets the tone. I mean,
he wants to experiment, but he wants to experiment with people who know what they're doing. And I don't know how much,
but like,
how many players you can do that.
Though, right? Like what?
Yeah, I don't know how many players that are not in S3 could do that with him.
That's
right.
I think that's the big problem.
Because everyone who's at like a top tier is in S3 right now.
Do you think he should take kind of like a Parasite route? And no, in terms of like
commit basic team suicide.
In terms of joining like E6 and joining a whole different group of players.
But then you basically, no disrespect to Parasite.
He's saying
or E6, you basically become irrelevant for 2 months.
Right. Yeah. You're saying I'm not competing in Season 3. I'll play with E6. I'll build up team chemistry. Worlds, Gfinity, or if they get invited to Gfinity, but
or if they even stay together for Worlds.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But I'm basically the whole thing was should Killa like really like explore and playing with like just a whole group of different players.
But I feel like he's that player who won't do that. Before like you even get to that point of like should he do that?
You need to have some type of like achievement or some like big achievement in order to team with him.
But again though, I feel like that shouldn't be the way it is.
No.
Especially for a player like Killer, who I feel is like constantly kind of learning this game. Like I mean, he kind of says it himself. Like he's very good at this game when he's playing around the right people.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's the key. He needs to have the right teammates around him. Otherwise, you don't get the Killer that you expect, or quite frankly, I kind of used to.
So basically, before Worlds, right now, I think he should just take the route of experimenting with as many people as possible.
Right, exactly. I mean, Aqua's not 100% confirmed on E6 yet. I don't think Killer's going to team with Parasite anytime soon again. But
I was actually just about to mention that. Could you potentially see that happen?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Really?
I think Kill's got his eyes really on getting into Season 3 somehow, I feel like. And I feel like teaming with Parasite is taking him in the complete opposite direction of that, and he doesn't want to do that right now.
True. Let's kind of end the Killer debate. Ask you both this question. Does Killer get into Season 3? Yes or no?
No.
Max?
No.
No? Both of you say no?
Nope.
Okay. Interesting. So he's going to be kind of left on the side. One of the high-caliber players.
Yeah, some tournaments, experiment with new players, see what he wants to do for Worlds.
Does he potentially retire before Black Ops? Oh, I say retire. Does he go on a break and come back in Black Ops 3?
Ooh.
I don't think a break is good for him. I think he still needs to play 2Ks, play 5Ks, try to get a team together for Worlds. Don't just completely step away from the game because, these young talent, like if they continue to get better, I don't think we're gonna see an influx of young talent like we've seen in AW for Black Ops 3.
Oh, I agree.
Just because of how different this game is.
I mean, Black Ops 3 does have its similarities, though. Let's not forget that. I mean, yes, it's not as crazy as AW from what we've seen, at least.
Max, you have to accept the fact we're being refreshed with new players.
Exactly, man.
Well, yeah.
Embrace change,
Embrace the
I am
change.
embracing change.
Embrace the change.
I don't think we're going to see like as big of an influx of new players in this game like we will see in Black Ops 3. Okay. So I think Killer should still stay around, play 2Ks, play 5Ks. Who knows? He might find a team that he likes teaming with, and you know, maybe they have some success. But as of right now, he's really, you know, up a creek without a paddle right now.
Let's kind of talk about Twiz. We said he was a standout player for VVV at the relegation tournament. I mean, in arguably the most important matches, you know, he has great performances overall.
Right.
Now, what does a player like Twiz do? Because, you know, Advanced Warfare first comes out, Twiz is looking like a really good, solid player, but he's been, I want to say, kind of like on the bubble all year long, essentially, with, you know, is he going to be in the league? Is he going to be playing in the league? Is he going to have a starting position in the league, et cetera, et cetera? Do you potentially see him in Season 3, or is that kind of like his Season 3 is over as well?
Nah, his Season 3 is over. What do you think, JP?
Yeah, I think the same. I think you have to do the same thing as Killa, like just re-embrace it, just try and experiment with new players. I mean, what else could you do? I mean, there's a lot of good teams in Season 3, a lot of good players. I don't know if they're up to par.
How many of those teams, though, do you expect to make a change? Like, let's take a look at some of the teams which qualified from the relegation tournament. I'm not going to say names, obviously, because we're kind of covering it now.
Right.
But do any of those teams make team changes, or are they kind of happy that, hey, you know, we're going to the season, mission accomplished, let's stay together?
That's hard.
Well, ISO's selling their spot for $1 million. I don't know if you saw Dito's tweet.
I did see that.
That's a troll, but some.
No, he's being serious. I was gonna say we all chip in, we can buy the spot.
I got $1 million. You got $1 million?
Well, if you got $1 million, I don't need to chip in. You can pay for yourself.
You'll team with me if I pay for the spot?
Oh hell yeah! You pay $1 million? Hell yeah, dude! I want whatever jersey you give me for $1 million.
All right, we're playing for 12. So, like ISO, I don't think they make a move.
Set the standards high.
I think ISO's good.
We're not supposed to be naming names.
Oh, sorry.
It was just a vague kind of. Can you see any of those teams making any changes?
The relegation teams?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can, JP?
Oh no, regular. I thought you were talking about just season teams in general, not
well,
just
the teams which qualified for season 3 through the relegation tournament. Can you see any of them making some team changes? Because I feel like
I think that'd be a really dirty move because you just qualify.
It is a really dirty move, but
maybe one.
We think about like dirty moves. I mean, let's take VVV for example. Picked up Killer 2 minutes, essentially before the
minutes or something like that.
Maybe one.
Basically, a very short period of time before the roster's locked.
I can see one team making a move.
Ooh.
I don't want to say.
Right.
Once we get to the team, I'll talk about it.
All right. Okay. That sounds pretty good. This game, you see VVV down 5-4. They kind of clutch things up, force a round 11, and you can see just a look of concentration on their faces. And for this round 11, we'll go to a cheeky bit of a listen-in with the casters.
From Fizzerp. If you have that happen to you in a 1v1, you know you're thinking about it afterwards. He put it in the back of his mind, gets 2 big kills in the 10th round, and here we go to round 11. It is going to be Baker and DT on offense. Baker 12-7, have an absolute monster game here, Chris.
That round earlier when DT didn't pick up a single kill, really biting them. As we're looking at the setup, super slow positioning here on the attack. You're going to see John already on the B bomb site. He's a little bit nervous about the mid-street action, and you're hearing a whole lot of pre-firing as Twiz is making noise over at A.
And they're playing it slow, working towards B. Again, this is your typical push. You're going to see this seems like 9 out of 10 times they're going to push from garage to back steps into school. You've seen they've given it up again, but VVV time and time again has proven you get this bomb down, we can retake it. What have we seen that 3 or so times now? That DT's got it down at B and they've just swarmed in. But Baker, Mr. Clutch yet again. Nade comes in, going to be able to take out Kill. That's a 4-3 advantage. If you are just tuning in, they already took the hard point. Or they already fell in the hard, but this is them trying to bounce back in here, see if they can tie this up. Fizzerp gets 2 of his own. It's going to be a 2 versus 2 here.
Fox, nice kill there on John. Fizzerp this time is going to turn on Stringo. Fox in the 1v2. Twiz trying to wrap around for the flank. 26 seconds till that bomb detonates. Here come both players, and Twiz is going to win it. This is going to be VVV round 11 defused. But for a loser's bracket round 2, you got to be worried if you're a VVV fan going the distance here on Detroit.
But you got the wins, right? They've been close. They've been stressful.
And there you see VVV clutching up when they needed to. But despite that nice round 11 clutch, VVV, pretty disappointing Season 3 relegation tournament. They walk away 7th, 8th place, 2-2 record, 1-2 lost to, and a 6-7 map count. So it wasn't the best time for VVV. What happens with the players, we'll find out in the next couple of days. Of course, later on in the show, we'll be talking all things roster mania and giving our speculation as to where some of these players are ultimately going to end up. For now, though, quick commercial break. When we return, Season 3 relegation continues with the recap, and we're going to be taking a look at Strictly Business. We're back.